Okay, so today I'm just going to take you through some new features really quickly that we've been working on at Ripehouse recently. We're really excited about these because it's just going to make the process of finding suburbs in the regions that you're looking at so much more efficient and effective, and to visually see clusters of suburbs that are grouped together with high capital growth fundamentals, flipping fundamentals, or cash flow fundamentals. So it's visually going to display on the map for you where these areas are, and you're able to then click on different suburbs in that area or range to continue your search or your due diligence. So previously this functionality, the only way to actually find suburbs, I'm just here on the home page, I've clicked on the click to search button there. The only way to find suburbs that matched your strategy in the region that you're interested in was via this entry box. So this is looking for New South Wales, and you can select the individual region that you'd like, and then that will display the top suburbs in that region based on the strategy fundamentals, and you'll work through that one by one. So that's still very applicable, and it still provides you with some great information in the search results. However, we've just added this extra little feature on the main suburb map analysis page, which will visually display this strategy information. So I'm going to use Brisbane as an example. I'm very familiar with the market at the moment in Brisbane. Queensland as a state is our #1 Q2 state for investments, with excellent growth through the recovery and growth phases of the property cycle. When you drill down a little bit further, Brisbane is, as a region in Queensland, is #1 comparative to southeast, central and west regions and coastal regions. Brisbane is #1. It's got the most scope through the recovery phase still to go. Some really nice growth fundamentals there at the moment. So let's use Brisbane as the focal point of our example today for this new functionality. I've just had a direct entry suburb search there for Brisbane. That's going to load Brisbane up into the main map analysis page here. Okay, so there's a little bit going on with this page. It takes a few seconds to load. It's getting all the information we need to be able to do our analysis. The page is loaded, ready to go. I'm going to click close up here to remove that quick look information. Now we'll focus here on Brisbane CBD. I'm going to move the map out to contain the whole Brisbane area. Okay, so I've zoomed out a little bit. I might just center it a little bit better. Okay, so we're going right up here to the Moreton Bay area. We're going right out here towards Ipswich, and we're going down towards Redland Bay. So not quite down to Gold Coast, but we're getting a lot of this in, a lot of Brisbane in. So you can see the map at the moment has the satellite view. You can see all the green for trees, and the residential areas as grey areas. You've got all the suburb names as overlays. So what we're going to do, this is the area of new functionality. So I'm not sure if you can see my cursor moving out around here. We've got 3 new buttons, and each one of these buttons will, for each strategy, so capital gains, flipping, and cash flow, it will display overlays on the map at a suburb level. So suburb by suburb will have an overlay. The darker the colour, so for blue example, for capital growth, the darker the blue, the higher the capital gain score is for that suburb. Okay, so it's going to be really good to see some clusters. It's also going to change the opacity of the map background to almost a grayscale, so you can see the blues popping off the page, and you're able to actually click on each overlay suburb area to view the capital growth score for that suburb, and then even click through to analyse it as a paid member. So if I click on that overlay here now, it's going to take a few seconds to load up all the information we need for the capital growth zones. That's happening in the background as we speak. Okay, you can see that the map has now been turned into almost grayscale, and the blue areas, the darker the blue colour, the higher the capital growth score. So just immediately we can see some really large dark areas up around here. And you can see some really nice clusters of blue. So it's a little bit annoying when I hover, but we've got a large area down around Karana Downs, almost to Ipswich. A lot of cluster, obviously a very large cluster where every single suburb rates very highly for its capital growth score. So 100% here in Anseed, 91% in Pullen Vale, 99% in Pinjarra Hills. The all the surrounding areas are very highly regarded for its capital growth score. So there's definitely a trend towards that region. That's immediately what I'm sort of drawing my eye towards. So yeah, it's worth probably looking at what the reasons for that to occur, what infrastructures, public or private spending is occurring, that population transition to there, because we've got big capital growth bias signals consistently across that region. Another region up here with the big blue area overlay here, this suburb is actually the airport container, so Pinkenba. Sample size is very low in Pinkenba, so that's a little bit of a disclaimer, a little bit of a sanity check. Some of these 100 percentiles, sample size is very low, so that means that the difference between sold volume between 1 month and the last is potentially very large relatively, and that can blow out the capital growth score in some cases. So just a little bit of a disclaimer on that one. But what I'm noticing is another cluster over here towards Wynnum in the west of Brisbane. Definite cluster. You've got sporadic and suburbs all dotted throughout, but what I'm looking for is groupings. Another grouping over here towards Indooroopilly, Toowong area, and another grouping here moving towards Salisbury, LGA in the south. So all the way out to Sunnybank Hills, Acacia Ridge. There's definitely a trend following a route. What I'm really liking, and I might zoom the map in a little bit, when I zoom the map in, it's actually going to take all the zones off the map and re-initialize. So I'm zooming in, excuse me, I've just misclicked there. I'm just going to click back again on my browser. This is going to have to load the page again, so I do apologize. Okay, so this is just loading Brisbane back up again. Yeah, I'm going to get my map and zoom all in alignment. So what I was wanting to do there was just look into this northern region in particular of Brisbane. So we've seen, I do apologise, I've misclicked again here. Okay, so we've seen some definite clusters around down towards Ipswich, Corona Downs, in the Salisbury local government area, and then also into the Wynnum area. What I did notice, and I'd like to investigate a little bit further, is this area in northern Brisbane. So we're zoomed in a little bit further here. I might just zoom out a little bit. I'll click on the capital gains overlays again. We're seeing definite clusters down here very close to the city, so Red Hill, Kelvin Grove, Hurston, Wilston, and out to Grange. So there's definitely a transit route coming in here that's causing potentially the cluster. We're also seeing over here towards Ascot, Hamilton, and then out along the route, Albion, Wooldown, Kendron, Wavell Heights, Nunda, Northgate. So it's following this curve, which is also the train line, out and around, which goes up to Mudgee and then out towards Moreton Bay. So yeah, the transport into the city through those suburbs, Nunda, Kendron, into Albion, into the CBD. In that cluster, there's definite grouping there of high capital gains score suburbs. So just ignore this, as I mentioned, this dark blue area here. It is a large geographic area. It does contain the airport, and it does suffer from sample size. As I did mention, there is a nice grouping over here as well of Wynnum West, all those areas. A nice feature I'll just quickly demonstrate. I'm zooming back out again. Is for you to really visually see quickly. It's a great example. I'm clicking on the flipping overlays. That's going to take a few seconds to load again. I've got a large area now in the sample size, so it's taking a lot of suburbs. Okay, so quickly you can see anything in the green rates very highly for flipping. Basically, you need predominantly 3-bedroom or 2 3-bedroom houses as the primary property type, and the larger the differential between unrenovated and renovated. So the larger the price spread in the suburb, the higher the regard for flipping strategy. So anywhere in the green is basically recommended, and you can see a cluster once again over in Corona Downs area. In the immediate area around Brisbane, is actually no recommended flipping areas, or if we zoom in, there's a couple that are sporadically placed around. That's sort of consistent with areas that might have higher percentage of units, etc. I might just zoom in a little bit closer and we'll just apply that on again. Yeah, so it's really nice and quick, a really nice quick way to see those suburbs, and you can definitely see a cluster over here near Pullen Vale. You can see sporadic suburbs like Carindale throughout, and another cluster up here in the north of flipping areas grouped together. Cash flow is another one. So this is going to display the darker the yellow overlay, the higher the cash flow score, which basically means the higher the yield, but we do need a minimum requirement for stability in the tenancies. So vacancy rates need to be stable and low, and volumes need to be reasonable. So you can see definite higher clusters of yields up through the northern region here of Brisbane. Also over towards Nunda as well as a little bit of a grouping, but then definitely over towards the southwest and the southeast. Oh, sorry, I've got that backwards. Southeast and southwest of Brisbane. So definite clusters of higher cash flow areas. So as I did mention, you can hover over any of these regions and see these scores, and then you can click to go through to the next suburb for your analysis. So this is just a really quick insight into this new feature with Ripehouse. We have been working on it, and we're very pleased to release it. It's going to save a lot of our customers and users a lot of due diligence time in searching manually through search results. They can see regions and they can see clusters visually. Would love your feedback about the functionality, any improvements that you might see. We're very responsive to what you've got to say and how we can help and how we can work together to create the tools to help the Ripehouse community of DIY property investors. And if you've got any feedback about other features, please let me know. So yeah, this is the new functionality. I will be taking people through this again in our webinar next Wednesday at 8 p.m. That's Wednesday, April the 25th, the 15th, sorry, at 8 p.m. So do join me for that special webinar, and thank you for your time today.